Next on Newsmax Prime, to rake more dollar bills into her campaign coffers, Hillary sends out her husband bill. Ed Klein keeps up with the Clintons for us. Meantime, the mainstream media keeps up its criticism of Donald Trump, this time for something the Donald did not say. Plus, southern Arizona stays hot in September, so why do residents and ranchers there feel as if they've gotten the cold shoulder when it comes to border enforcement? We'll find out why and deal with all the wherefores as Newsmax Prime starts right now. Good evening. Welcome to this Friday night edition of Newsmax Prime. I'm J.D. Hayworth. Of prime interest tonight, now an uphill battle for Hillary? Hillary Clinton's poll numbers have been slipping, so what does the Democrat frontrunner do? Well, she calls in her husband, former President Bill Clinton, to headline a pair of fundraisers in Chicago yesterday. The former president moving center stage after staying in the background earlier. Meantime, the spontaneity and sincerity Mrs. Clinton and her staff promised a few days ago have apparently gone missing, at least based on her comments during a live interview with CNN. Our Miranda Kahn has more from the newsroom. Miranda?
JD, top donors doled out $50,000 each to hear the former president speak as he headlined two fundraising events yesterday in Chicago. The former Secretary of State originally intended to return to her hometown, but scrapped her visit so she could attend campaign events in New Hampshire. Some suggest a change of plans may signify a cause for concern about Bernie Sanders' popularity in the nation's first primary state. Meanwhile, the Clinton media blitz continued yesterday with Hillary making an appearance on CNN with Wolf Blitzer. But that live interview may have backfired, resulting in some unwanted attention. When questioned about her email scandal and the idea brought up by Governor Chris Christie during the debate that she should be prosecuted,
he said at the debate, "You can't tell the American people the truth." Those are his words about your email, the whole controversy. He says you should be prosecuted for having a server in your basement. He says with national security secrets running through it.
This is overheated rhetoric, baseless charges, trying to somehow, gain a footing in the debate and in the primary, and it really doesn't deserve any comment.
Hillary also faced questions about another hot-button issue for many, Benghazi, and the level of cooperation she offered to Trey Gowdy and the House subcommittee, which is investigating the terror attack and the events surrounding it.
For more than a year now, been asking to testify before the congressional committee that is investigating the situation in Benghazi. They would not let me appear. Finally, and I'm very happy about this, I will be appearing toward the end of October, and I will look forward to answering all their questions. I'm trying to be as transparent as possible. That's why people are reading the contents of the emails that are being released. It's why I've turned over my server. It's why I will testify.
That opinion, though, seems to differ with the narrative we hear from committee members. As for her poll numbers, the most recent polls show Mrs. Clinton having trouble holding traction with self-described moderates, many of whom seem to be hedging their bets on an undeclared candidate, Joe Biden. JD, back to you.
Thanks, Miranda. For more on this story, we're pleased to be joined by Ed Klein. Ed, of course, the author of Blood Feud, The Clintons versus the Obamas. He also offers up a blog at his website, edwardklein.com, and he joins us from Newsmax, New York. Ed, as always, we very much appreciate your time here on Newsmax Prime. And suddenly, Bill is center stage. How big a story is this for Clintonologists?
I think it's a huge story because Hillary is in trouble when she rolls out the big dog.
And just how much trouble is she in?
Well, Bill is a double-edged sword. He can be a huge asset because he's a brilliant campaigner and speech giver, but he can also be a big liability, as we saw in the 2008 campaign, when he pissed off an awful lot of African-American voters by calling Barack Obama's campaign a fairy tale. So she has to be very careful. Up to now, Hillary has kept Bill under lock and key as far as the campaign is concerned. He hasn't been included in any of the campaign meetings. He hasn't gotten any briefings from the campaign. He is not part of conference calls. He has been really excluded. So the fact that she's rolling him out now, not only in Chicago, but apparently he's going to Texas and maybe California as well, indicates she's in big trouble.
Now, Ed, back to the story proffered by Miranda a little while ago. We heard Hillary in her CNN live interview yesterday, and she insisted in that interview that she eagerly awaits a chance to testify about Benghazi. That is very different than what we've heard from her before, is it not? And why does she think she can rewrite recent history like that?
Well, you know, Hillary wants to testify at the Benghazi hearings as much as she wants to eat her spinach. You know, there's no question in my mind. She does not look forward to this at all because she is going to be under really intense questioning by Trey Gowdy, who is a very, very good prosecutor, very highly respected by his colleagues, and has acquired a lot of information that even you and I don't know about yet.
Now, we have to bring up, with Hillary's situation, the continued buzz about Biden. The vice president, apparently one of his confidants, someone working on that leadership pack, was overheard in public saying he was 100% sure Joe Biden is going to get in this thing. Is that what you're hearing?
I've been reporting on this very issue, and I can tell you that the person who wants to be 100% sure that Biden is going in to the campaign is Barack Obama. Think about this. The Vice President of the United States does not get on Air Force Two, his plane, without the prior approval of the White House. He doesn't appear on television shows without the approval of the White House. He doesn't give speeches without the approval of the White House. He can't do anything without the approval of Barack Obama. Clearly, over the past several weeks, the White House has been encouraging him to launch this under-the-radar campaign that he's already launched. So you can see that we have the White House supporting Biden against Hillary, and I think we're going to find Biden coming into the campaign with Obama's support.
So he will get in, but Ed, we've talked about it before. The question is when. When do you expect him to formally get into this?
Nobody knows the answer to that question. There's a big debate going on inside the Biden inner circle, which I've also reported on. Part of that debate, those people are in favor of him getting in sooner than later. There's another faction that says, why don't you wait until after she's roughed up in Iowa and New Hampshire by Bernie Sanders, looks like a loser, and the elite of the party, the Democratic Party, the leaders, the superdelegates, the fundraisers will all come to you and beg you to come in. You'll be drafted. That's the moment to come in after New Hampshire.
And our moments of visiting with you, Ed Klein, are up. We thank you for your perspective tonight from Newsmax New York. Again, the name of Ed's book is Blood Feud, The Clintons versus the Obamas. And of course, you can also read more of Ed's columns at the website, edwardklein.com. Now, we've talked about the candidates on the Republican side all getting together at the Reagan Library Wednesday night. You've been weighing in on this at newsmaxpolls.com. Here's where it stands right now. Donald Trump's lead is decreasing. Carly Fiorina is closing in. You see the numbers there. Trump with just under 47%, Carly at almost 24%, and the rest of the candidates right there. Still time for you to cast your vote, and you can do so by going to newsmaxpolls.com. Still to come, Secretary of State John Kerry prepares for direct talks with Russia over that nation's growing involvement in Syria. General Michael Hayden reacts. Then later, should John Boehner be removed as Speaker of the House? John Gizzi and Terry Jeffrey weigh in. But first, Donald Trump finding more criticism on the campaign trail, this time for an omission. Scotty Nell Hughes and Rick Unger will discuss as Newsmax Prime continues.